Alright, so I'm going to do something a little bit differently on this channel. Normally, when I do videos around Vegas, but this was way too cool of a project not to share. So this is the 2025 LEGO Speed Champion F1 cars. And yes, I did buy all 10. I thought about just originally getting the large Red Bull, the Technic one, for $220. But then I was like, well, you know, if I'm going to get one for that price, it'd make more sense just to get 10 for roughly about the same amount of money. So I was like, okay, let me just get all 10, I'll have the set. Now, before I go any further, let me clarify that I'm not really a diehard F1 fan, I'm more of a casual F1 fan. But if I had to pick a team, I like Red Bull. I don't really like Max Verstappen, but I like the car, I like the colors, I like the sponsors, so I kind of just went with Red Bull as my team. But when I did these cars, I tried to rate them as far as the build goes, the build process, and how well they flowed. My criteria was, you know, the color combination on the car, how well they pop, how well that the stickers are easy to put on, because as you can see, being, you know, F1 cars that are fully sponsored, there's a lot of stickers on these things. Some of them are printed, yes, but we'll get into that in a moment. So the ease and amount of stickers, the flow of the build, and the color combo. So I went with Ferrari is 1, Red Bull was 2, the Racing Bulls, the Visa Racing Bulls was actually 3. That was a fun build. You had Mercedes, Haas, Alpine, and then we got into McLaren. So McLaren, even though it's number 1 on the grid here, because I went by 2024 constructor points, the McLaren build was actually a really hard build. It didn't flow very well. The stickers, there's way too many stickers. They were way too hard to put on there. So that's why it's down on my list. Then you had the Williams. There wasn't really much to say about that. The Duracell battery is pretty cool. Then the Kick Sauer. I like the green and black. It really stands out well. But the actual build itself wasn't that great. And then last but not least was the Aston Martin. Now, you're probably asking yourself, they all look similar. And yes, in a way they do, but really they were all different builds. So, for instance, we'll just use these 3 here for comparison. So the the McLaren, the Ferrari, and the Red Bull all had different part counts. Now, the front wing and the rear wing are all built the same, because those are the parts of the car that's actually regulated by F1. The teams really don't have much control over what they can do with the front and rear wings. However, if you look at the chassis, the mid-chassis, and the bodies, they're all different. Even the air vents for the engine cooling is all different. So that's the part on this build that was actually different. You can see it all the way through on all 10 cars, how each of the midsection is built just a little bit different. So it was enough to keep it interesting, but also on the front and rear wings, it was easy to flow once you got to those steps. And again, sometimes the front and rear wing was bag 3 and 4, or sometimes it was bag 5 and 6. You never know which it was going to do. Sometimes, like on the Red Bull, it was bag 1. Now, the thing with these cars, like I said, is how I have them displayed. So when I started thinking about this project, I was like, well, if I get all 10, I don't want to lay them flat. I kind of want to lay them to where people can see them. And I thought, well, I'll just stack them on top of each other. I was like, how am I going to build something like that? Then I came up with the idea of the angle. So basically, these cars are not glued in. They are held in by a bracket here on the back wheel. And the minifigures with the drivers are held in by just a simple 1x2. Now that's really cool because, like I said, right now I have them displayed by order of the 2024 Constructors Championship. And I thought to myself, well, do I want to just do 10 spaces or do I want to do 11? Because with Cadillac going F1 racing next year, if I wanted this to last throughout the years, I'd have to make 11 spots. But then again, I got to thinking, well, you know, they're going to change the cars completely. Next year, they're all going to be redesigned. So these cars are going to be obsolete. I was like, do I really want to buy 11 more cars? The answer was no. So I just did the 10 spots, but after I built the shelf, somebody said, well, what about the safety car? That could have been my 11th spot. But here's the cool thing. Like I said, these cars can actually be moved. So if you take them off, let's take out the Ferrari here. That's how I have them done. I have a wedge here. It's basically a wooden doorstop. I bought 10 of these off Amazon for like $10. So the wooden doorstop, the shelf is a 1x6, is a 2x6. Sorry, not a 1x6, it's a 2x6. And then I originally had the display back here, but I had to move it up because the logo here is actually cut and traced out of 1/4-inch plywood. So I printed off the F1 logo, cut around it, traced it on the plywood, cut out the jigsaw, and painted it. But the cool thing is, so if I wanted to do 2025 points, I'd go Mercedes, take out the driver, put Mercedes over here. Oh, he fell down. That's because my thing came off. Wow. That's a technical error. We'll fix that. So I'll go Mercedes. I'll go Ferrari. And I'm not going to move all these, but you can kind of see how they can be moved around. So that's the cool thing about this display, is that the cars are not necessarily like locked in. I can move them around. I got some flexibility. And if I want to change them weekly, updated based on points, I can do that, which would be actually kind of cool to do if I can get this thing to stay back in. The actual on these holders, the rear wheels are really wider than the holders, so they don't set in very well, which is why I really don't want to move them. But and now I got a car falling apart, so I'm going to have to fix that. But you guys get the idea. So I can move around based on 2025 points. I can move around based on 2024 points. I think I'm going to leave them at the 2024 points just because that is going to be how these liveries are, because these liveries are actually 2024 liveries. They didn't update them in time because when they produced the cars, it was at the end of last year, and they didn't have the updated paint schemes for the 2025 season. So I think I'm just going to leave them how they finished the 2024 season just because that's how it looks. And, you know, I'm not going to move them around too much because, like I said, the minifigures, they're not really glued on very well, so I need to redo that. And I don't want to move the cars because they're very, very fragile. But that is basically the entire project, the entire LEGO Speed Champion set. I will fix the Ferrari here in a bit, but I just want to give you one last look at all the cars. It really was a fun project to do, and hopefully they'll do something like this in the future because I'm really looking forward to more projects. Other than that, guys, take care. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll answer it down below. Other than that, have fun and enjoy the build.